Good afternoon, everybody. It's Amanda with Sugar Bees Gifts Decor and More. I hope you all are having a great day. I am so happy we're finally getting sunshine down here in Georgia. We haven't seen the sun, and I couldn't tell you when. So, I had I'll ramble on, but to get to the point of this video, hopefully it won't be too long. But I had a customer. I'm not sure if they were asking me about if they were in need of embroidery services or if they were trying to get into the embroidery business and had questions pertaining, to an order. But it put the idea in my head to tell you my experience thus far being a embroiderer full time. Now, people may do different things different than what I do, but this is how I like to do things. This is my experience. You tailor it to your own needs. You take my advice with a grain of salt. I started my business 3 years ago. I had been a hobbyist up until that point. And I managed a small boutique where we offered HTV or heat transfer vinyl products, women's and children's apparel, and we also offered embroidery. At that time, I had an embroidery machine at home, but it didn't fascinate me that much. After working there, I really got interested in it, and things kind of went downhill. And I decided, since 2012, I've been a stay-at-home mom, and about 4 years ago is when I worked at the boutique, and I decided I liked doing that. In the environment I was in, it wasn't fitting for my life at that time or my family. So I decided, I decided, my husband convinced me to start at least doing heat transfer, as a home-based business. And I was all for that. And then I was like, I've got an embroidery machine that was given to me by my mother as a gift. And I'll show you the machines here later. But I said, well, I can do embroidery as well. Not that many people in my area offer embroidery. We have a lot of commercial businesses that do offer it, but nothing as far as I need a monogram or I just need a small job.
New messages received from Tiara Slaughter.
I'm sorry about that. And my customers, God bless them. But, I lost track. Oh, goodness, I forgot what I was talking about. But anyway, I'll show you the machines that I used and everything. So, like I said, 3 years ago, I decided to start doing this from home. I do have a lot of competition from the bigger businesses, as I said, but I felt that people needed people that were needing embroidery on a smaller scale I'd have a better chance of them coming to me. So I started out with my PE or SC400, my brother. It is a combo machine, so it can sew and embroider as well. The frame on it is, I can go up to a 4x4. Well, there's only one frame. After that, I did upgrade to a PE 770. And I'll touch more on that. So first thing I knew what I needed a space to work. And I knew I couldn't afford, and it still at this point is not a good idea for me to rent a space outside of my home. So I have my basement, and my garage. It started in the basement and has since expanded out to the garage. Out in the garage is where I do any type of painting, glitter work, anything that's messy that I don't want to mix up with people's garments. I keep it all out there. But everything as far as apparel decoration is inside the basement. So I was like, well, I already have to pay for a place to live. So I've already got that covered. I don't have to worry about the overhead of a rental space. Then all the, in Georgia, you have to have a certificate of occupancy. You have to carry renter's insurance. Not to mention most of the businesses around here The office spaces or business spaces that you lease, you do have to pay for your own utilities. And I know just working at the boutique, just to turn the heat on with the gas company was about a $2,000 deposit, which I do not believe that you get back. And I don't remember what it was for the electrical. So I said, I'll just work from home. And I've been doing that for the past 3 years. I have had some people, and you will encounter these if you decide to do this from home, unless you're already independently wealthy and you can afford to lease a space or buy a space right off the get-go. But you will have people that may not be so comfortable about coming to your home, and that's fine. You have to respect their, you have to respect that. Some people just may not be comfortable with coming to a private residence, and that's fine. And there's some people that I kind of get a feel for when I'm either talking to them over the phone or through text or through Facebook Messenger. If they're somewhat aggressive in the text, they're not invited. And I hate to stereotype someone based on a conversation, but if you're that aggressive in a message or in a phone conversation, then I'm not going to feel comfortable with you in my home, because most of the time I am here by myself. So I have to have a peace of mind that everything hopefully is going to go okay. So now you've got your space established, wherever you may be, whether you're in a storefront or working from your home. Okay, the next thing you're going to need equipment. You're going to need computers. You're going to need your machines. You're going to need supplies. I run off 2 separate computers. I have my Dell desktop, and then I have an HP laptop. You're going to need extensive storage space. If your computer doesn't come with an exuberant amount of storage, then you're going to want terabytes, which is an external hard drive. And I have a lot of designs saved on thumb drives as well, or flash drives. So you're going to need extensive storage, because you're going to have a lot of embroidery patterns that you're going to want to hold on to, because you've purchased those and you don't want to get rid of them. And customers have sent you artwork that you've had digitized. You don't want to get rid of that. So you need extensive amount of storage space on your PCs. A lot of people use Embroid, a lot of digitizing software. With it just being me by myself, I don't have a lot of time to sit there and digitize my own artwork. So I send it out. I use USA digitizers. There's 2 companies with similar names, but there's US digitizers and then there's USA digitizers. I use USA digitizers. Most of the artwork that I send over them to have done usually runs between anywhere from $12 to $20. They base it on the amount of colors within the stitch, the size, and the stitch count. So the process goes, now I do have fonts on hand. You can go to numerous different embroidery websites, Great Notions, Etsy, Applique Corner. There are tons of embroidery websites where you can download these fonts and patterns to where I take, let's say I'm using a font. They just want lettering or they just want a monogram. I have those fonts already saved on my computer. I use a program called Combine Design. This is a $12 merging program. I download these files into my these letters into my merging program and form a name or a monogram. Those are fairly quick. I do not have to send those out and have them digitized. But let's say, do I have anything on hand? I do work with several teams. They send me their JPEG artwork or highly pixelated artwork. I send that over to US digitizers. Initially, I get a quote. I relayed that back to my customer. I do not mark up the digitizing quotes. the only thing I'm doing is transferring the file from my computer to USA Digitizer. So I'm really not doing anything with the artwork that would condone me marking it up. I try to stay honest and upfront in my business. So that's one thing that I do offer. Now, when it comes to the names and monograms and such like that, if I have to take an extensive amount of time, like say I'm doing an entire team of names, yes, I do charge for digitizing services. But I send the artwork over. If it's a pretty large piece of artwork, I send it over to USA Digitizers, and then I wait for the quote to come back. I provide that with my customer and then allow them to have time to think it over as to whether or not they want to continue and purchase the file, or whether we need to do some rework, or they're just not interested. And you're going to have those that are going to work you, and turns out they're not going to place an order, and that's fine. There are going to be people like that. You have to understand, people are shopping around just like we are to try to find the best deals that they possibly can. So that's going to be something that you're going to deal with. Okay. When you get your artwork back, say this customer wants to proceed, you're going to need to download that to your computer. Usually I like to open it up and look at it in Combine Design just to see what it's going to look like. But when they send your artwork back, they're going to send you a PDF as well as a JPEG. The JPEG is a stitch out that they've done there at USA Digitizers. In the PDF file is a pattern. It's going to tell you how many colors are within this design, how many times you're going to change colors within the design, and how many stitches are in the design. Now, if you're not digitizing this yourself, you're going to need to know the stitch count, because that's what you're going to base your price on. I charge $1.50 per 1,000 stitches. If I have to change threads more than twice, I'm going to charge you 50 cents every time I change thread. If it's a delicate garment to where I have to use a heavy-duty stabilizer, I'm going to charge you 75 cents to $1 for every sheet I have to use of the heavy-duty stabilizer. If I have to use a polymesh stabilizer or water-soluble, I charge for that. There's a lot of ins and outs. If I use metallic thread, I charge extra for that. Metallic thread can be very difficult to work with. You have to finesse it. The next thing we're going to talk about is the supplies you're going to need. And a lot of people are really surprised on all the crap you need to embroider. It's not like, and I do get the feeling a lot of this from my customers, and no, hatred intended for them. But I think some people, whether you're doing heat transfer vinyl, whether I'm doing screen printing, whether I'm doing embroidery, they think I'm putting it on the machine and pressing a button. It's just like printing on a copy machine, and it's not. There's a lot of setup involved, a lot. So let's go over and look at the supplies. Let's just keep in mind at this point, we're just going to, hypothetically say we've got our design ready, and then we're ready to go over to the machine. So let's go over. And I'll just give you a quick glance. Now, please excuse, this is laundry day, which just seems like every day. Over here, this is my desk area. I have all my catalogs down here. Printer, your everyday essentials. These are the two computers I run off of. I mainly do all my graphic work on here for HTV or screen printing, and I try to keep my embroidery to this computer over here. This is where I have my combined design merging program over there, and mostly all of my fonts and patterns are on that computer. Heat press, storage for heat press. This is my big cutter, my big vinyl plotter. Please excuse my iron board. I had to use it yesterday. Cameo machine for the smaller jobs. Then we come over here, and this is the sewing area. thread choice is that's your choice. Brother machines now have a baby lock and a brother. They're very finicky about the thread they use. I have to use mostly 3 different kinds. Floriani. This is what I highly recommend. This will run you, depending on where you buy it from, this will run you anywhere from $5.99 to about $15 per spool, depending on the size spool you get. I'm trying to focus in here. See if it'll show you what it's made up of. Hold on just a second. Okay. I just want to make sure I was saying the right word. Okay. Brother loves polyester thread. And in case you didn't know, Brother owns Baby Lock. So you probably notice if you have a Brother Persona, it's the same exact machine. It's just different badges. That's all it is. But I use either Floriani, and this is what the label looks like. Let's see what other brand. Isacord. Let's see. Sulky. Sulky, you can get that at your local Joann's. Trying to see if there's any more of the brands. Thread Art brand. I like their thread. That's where I get a lot of my supplies from, is at Thread Art. Trying to see if I have any more different brands. But it's mainly between Sulky, now these you can get at Joann's. If you're in a pinch and you have a Joann's near you, a Joann fabric, you can get Coates and Clark thread. Now this is a variegated thread. Excuse me. Now you can get Coates and Clark and you can get Sulky at Joann's. But for the most part, if you have time to order your thread and you're not in a pinch, get Floriani, get Isacord, get Sulky. You won't be disappointed. It will make sewing so much easier, and the final stitch will look so much better. Excuse me just a second. Okay, the next thing you're going to need stabilizer. This is heavy duty stabilizer. Now, I usually get this in pre-cut sheets, but this is the busy season. This is cutaway. This is heavy duty cutaway. You're not going to rip this with your hands. Cutaway is used for any garment that's going to be worn. So the rule of thumb that I've always followed, and I hear many other people say this that have been in business for years, if you wear it, don't tear it. Meaning, do not use tearaway stabilizer on something that's going to be worn. You've got to think of how the garment's going to lay. It's going to be washed numerous times. You don't want any puckering. You want your stitches to be stable. So if you're putting it on something that's going to be worn, use heavy duty cutaway stabilizer. Or, medium grade cutaway. Just make sure it's a cutaway. You're going to need water soluble stabilizer. This goes over top of garments, and I'll show you right here. You're going to lay this on top when you're sewing of a high piled fabric. These are Sherpas. So in order to keep my stitches from sinking down into this fabric where you can't see them, therefore making it pointless to embroider, you're going to lay this water soluble across the top while you're stitching. And this easily tears away when you're done. And you can also put a damp cloth on top of it and it'll dissolve. These are tearaway sheets. Now I have them this size for when I do hats. This just makes it a whole lot easier. And I use this for other stuff too. Now this is a heavier grade because of canvas hats. But you're going to need some tearaway. And these are also tearaway sticky sheets right here. I use fast frames on my machine. And mostly when you use fast frames, you're floating a garment rather than putting it in. I don't use these very much. I couldn't tell you when's the last time I used them. Usually you hoop normally. But when you have the fast frames, you don't have to try to sandwich the fabric that you're using between these two pieces here. You just float it on top here, and you use sticky stabilizer to hold it in place. Now, I always recommend, especially if you're putting on something that's going to be worn, lay a piece of cutaway or another non-sticky tearaway on top of this, because sometimes your sticky stabilizer does not want to release from fabric. If you're doing something, let's say, that's stretchy, and you need it to stay put and not gather or poke holes, you're going to need some poly mesh stabilizer or woven stabilizer. That's what that is right there. Sometimes you're going to have to basically make a stabilizer sandwich to get the right to accommodate whatever garment you're working on. Let's see, moving on here next. Okay, drawer. Oh, I see what happened. Did it fall? Okay, anyway. Goodness gracious. Now, I think we're back in business. Okay. You're going to need a small tool set. It's like a screwdriver set. Now, your machine will come with one. So, that's the majority of what's in there. They'll give you a lot with your machine. You're going to need, I use pre-wound white bobbins. These are Filtec, F-I-L-T-E-C, Filtec bobbins. And they have a magnet on one side. So that's going to hold it within your bobbin case. But these are pre-wound. And once you use these up, you can send them back in and they'll give you a credit towards your next purchase. You need a small screwdriver set. And I think I got this at Walmart a couple of Christmases ago, like in the little Christmas gift section back in the men's section. Or I think my husband come across it. But that's good when you need to work on your machine. You're going to need some machine oil. I just use 3-in-1 oil. This is the best. You need to oil your machine every time you fire this bad boy up. Let's see here. This is my Peanut. This is just a men's shaver, but I use this to remove embroidery stitches. And I'm trying to get the tool set out here. You're going to need tons of different needles. Tons. I use Schmetz. I was using Oregon needles, but I found that I like Schmetz better. I always recommend having some regular metal bobbins. Say you have a thread that you're having problems with, where the bobbin is showing up on your top stitch. I always like to have some metal ones sitting around to wind the same color of my top thread so I don't have that problem. It's going to come with some oil, screwdrivers. Don't ever lose this. This is the screwdriver that takes the screw in and out for you to replace your needle. These are just spool holders. You got another little type of screwdriver here. Needles. I recommend, if you don't get one of these little sets like this right here, then at least have one single pack of each of them. Each one of these do the same thing, and I'm not going to sit here and go through all those. They each have a different purpose for a different fabric, but I recommend having at least a couple of each on hand. You're going to need some embroidery scissors. Now, these are just a few different kinds here. These are from Sew Art, but they allow you, especially when you're doing embroidery, to get in those tight little spaces, cut your jump stitches. These are applique scissors as well. These are great for when you're cutting extra material after running your embroidery. I highly recommend a pair of needle nose tweezers or pointed tweezers. Let's see what else. Binder clips. You're going to need tons of these. This is what you're going to clamp your garment down with. You're going to clamp it to the edge of your frame here, and that's what's going to hold your garment in place. I mean, the sticky stabilizer does a good job of holding stuff in place, but I like some extra. I like some extra insurance. And I also have these smaller ones. These are, oh goodness. I think I got these from Embroidery. They're usually used to hold material together while you're sewing it together. Stitch work. Let's see what else here. I have this little bag here handy. I think I got this at Hobby Lobby, and it just has some extra embroidery scissors in there when I cut my threads. Now these are fabric markers. These are permanent fabric markers. From time to time, you're going to have a bobbin pull through, and you're going to need to cover it up. Take it from me. Do not use Sharpies, the Papermate felt tip pens. Invest in a set of permanent fabric pens. You will not be disappointed. I got this set, believe it or not, at Ross, and I paid $9.99 for it. And I got 20 fabric markers in here, and they're all different colors and tip thickness. You won't be mad at yourself for spending that $10, because I have finished up a design before. Okay, I'm not sure why we dropped there, but let's continue on. Let's see here. I'm trying to put this stuff back up. Okay. Moving on next here. You'll have various tweezers, scissors. Push these out of the way. Invest in a ruler. I mean, a good ruler. I have tons of them. But if you plan on doing a lot of chest embroidery, invest in one of these. $20, and this came from Creative Notions. This is an embroidery placement ruler for button-down shirts, zippered jackets, or sweaters, polos. This makes it so much easier. Or if you don't have one of these, or if you don't want to invest in one of these, you can use a regular ruler. The rule of thumb is you start, we'll just do it on the Sherpa here. Okay, this is the, I'm turning it around. This is the top shoulder, where the shoulder meets the neck. The rule of thumb is measure 7 inches down. 7 inches down from the shoulder, and then meet that. We come in from the armpit 3.5 inches. So where the 7 inches and the 3.5 inches meet, that should where your stitch will start. So invest in a ruler. All right, we've went over computers, where to get your digitizing done, threads, other supplies, and word of advice: find a good vendor for your supplies, and find a good vendor for garments. I use a place called, here in Atlanta, which they have numerous other warehouses, but it's called Alpha Broder, and they sell embroidery supplies as well. I just haven't bought any yet from them. Find a good wholesaler so you can offer your customers not only your services, but you can offer the garments to them as well at a great price. So you're getting profit on both ends from the services that you provide as well as the garments that you're selling them. So find a good wholesaler for that. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to tell you. Just shoot me a message. All right, next we're moving on to the machines. don't feel like you have to have one of these machines to start out with. I'm going to show you the one I started with and still use it from time to time. This is what I started with. This is the Brother SC400. You can still purchase this machine at Walmart. And I think you can get it from Home Shopping Network too, because I'm betting that is where mine came from. But it has an attachment that slides onto here. I have it put up right now because I was using this to sew. It has an attachment that slides on here, as well as an embroidery foot. You can get a nice little stitch out of this machine if you take time. You can accomplish a lot with this machine. A lot of people think you can't do much with this machine. I was embroidering stockings, jackets, hoodies, shirts, you name it. As long as you take the time to hoop properly, make sure everything that doesn't need to be under here is out of the way. Make sure you're not sewing anything together. You can accomplish a lot with this $300 machine. Believe it or not, this is a good investment. Will the stitch quality be as nice as the baby lot behind me? Yes and no. It depends on how intricate the stitch is. Some detailed stitches don't look gorgeous on this machine, but they look good. As long as you take your time, use the proper supplies, you can get a nice stitch out of this. The only thing I don't like is the display. It's hard to see what you're doing on this display. That is the only drawback. That is the only drawback. You do have to do a lot of floating on this machine, which means instead of trying to sandwich the material in between those hoops, you would put a piece of sticky stabilizer on here and lay it atop there, just like we do with our fast frames. But you can accomplish a lot with this. Now, after I got this one, well, yes, after I got this one, I invested in the Brother PE770. That machine was solely for embroidery. I bought it used for $400 off of the yard sale website here locally from a lady. She had never used it. She'd bought it used from another lady, but it had been well taken care of. And I ran these two machines, the small one you just saw, and the Brother PE770 for over a year, and I did great. But you get to a point where I need to do bigger than a 5x7. I need to do bigger items. And when I say bigger items, I'll show you, for example, here. Let me flip you around here. This is a saddle pad. This is more or less, it's a quilted blanket for horses. This goes underneath their saddle. I would not have easily been able to do these on those, whereas I can on the big one. But if you're going along with your small machine and you're finding that, you know, you're getting a good bit of work with it and you're able to accommodate all your customers' needs, then you just stay right where you are. There's no sense in having to upgrade to this when you don't have to. So don't feel pressured to leave your small machines behind just because, ooh, I want the bigger and better. I had to move forward because I was having a lot of people approach me, especially my horse clients that needed blankets done, that needed saddle pads done. And I needed more speed as well. This machine will only go up to 400 stitches per minute. Where I don't run it this high, I can go up to 1,000 stitches per minute on this one. Like I said, this is the Baby Lock Alliance. And I have some brochures that I'll show you some other ones. This is a single head, which means I can only stitch one thread at a time. But it has a super large display. It has some, features built into it, some embroidery patterns. You have a thumb drive or USB drive. let's see what else we have here. We can stitch up to, they call this an 8x8 frame. Technically, it's only about 7.5 by 7.5. Eventually, I would like to expand up to a 14-inch wide frame, but this is what was in my budget at the time. So after you've, downloaded your file from the digitizers or you've designed it yourself, you just bring it over here, pop it on the machine, and it's going to read everything on there for you. And it's going to give you a nice picture of what your design is going to look like. It's going to lay out all the colors for you that you're going to use, so you can stage them up here. It has an automatic threader, although mine has never worked. But you have a lot of features with this machine. Now, I bought this from another person, so I got a lot better deal than I would have just buying it from a dealer. You can go to your local dealer, and they have taken in trade-ins, I am sure. I know mine does. But you can get a heck of a deal on these, buying them used. You can search on your local yard sale pages, and I'm not sure why I keep losing signal, but okay. See if I can find those booklets here that I had on the other machines. There we are. Okay. Okay. If I were to have bought my machine brand new, and that's the Alliance, if I was to have bought my machine brand new, just the machine alone, not including the hoops, I would have spent $7,000. And then, in addition to that, the hat frame doesn't come with it. The fast frames do not come with it. And just to give you an idea on the price, I don't think they put them in here. Oh, yes, they do. The entire set, the 7 frames in one, that's the price. $349 for, let's see, for this. $350 for that right there. So $7,000 for the machine, another $350 for the fast frames, and I don't think it puts the price on here for the hat hoops. I don't think it does. I think that was about $300. Yeah, that's your hat hoop. Not to mention, it doesn't come with the stand. So, I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for mine. Like I said, I got a heck of a deal. But there are tons of other machines out there, and this is not a sponsor video whatsoever. You have your 10 needle. That's the Valiant. The Valiant you can digitize on this. You just put a JPEG on here. From what I understand, you just put a JPEG on there with your thumb drive, and it'll digitize it for you. I've yet to see it in action, but I would love to move up to this machine next. If anything, just to not have to change thread colors as much and to be able to have a wider stitch area. This one goes up to a 7 7/8 by 14-inch frame, whereas right now I'm at 7.5 by 7.5. So it gives you an additional 7 inches when we go up to that. But I think like my stand will still remain the same. I would have to get some bigger frames, but if I just went up, I would probably just have to purchase one more frame for my fast frame. This is the Endurance 2. This is a 6 needle machine. This one retails, just the machine alone, $12.5. Just the machine, $12.5. So I'm telling you, shop around for these machines, find them used. If that's the route you want to go, don't feel like you have to. You can still do a lot with your small machine. But if that's the route you want to go, shop your local yard sale pages, shop Craigslist, offer up, let go. Because I think I bought the 770 from Let Go. Let Go, offer up, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. You can find a lot of good deals on there. And I hate to say it, but you can find a lot of people that are either trying to get out of the business or maybe in a bind for money at the moment and want to sell this thing. You can pick them up cheap. But here's another one here, and I forgot I got this one. This is the Grand Poobah to me. This is the Bernina. This is 16 head. Yeah, I do believe. Yeah. Yeah, this is, I think this comes in a 20 head and a 16 head machine, but this is what I want to upgrade to eventually. Has lots of great features. You can still do all the same stuff. You can do, from what it's saying, you can do the Chanel Letterman jacket patches and such, but it just has a lot more options than what I have. But just keep your overhead low. Don't, especially when you're just starting out, don't try to finance a bunch of stuff like machinery, because there's going to be a lot of people calling you. I get a call every day from Beacon Funding, and I wish they would quit, because I tried to finance a machine at first before the opportunity of this machine came along, and the interest rate alone was ridiculous on something like this, because it's basically a personal loan. They don't look at it as a piece of equipment loan. You actually have to lie to them and tell them, no, it's not for business. This is for personal use. So just steer clear of them if any way possible. Pay cash for your machine. Work something out with the seller. See if you can do payments, whatever. I'm going to stay here working at my home as long as I possibly can. I know eventually I'm going to have to get out of here because, for one, I'm running out of room. And a lot of people where I advertise at, which is Facebook, are getting away from Facebook. So I feel like there's a lot of customers I'm missing because they're not Facebook followers. They're not Instagram followers. So, and I just want to be able to get in a more professional setting, because I do work with a lot of companies that I know would feel more comfortable with me being in a brick and mortar storefront. And eventually I'll grow into that. Right now, I am focused on building my clientele, my rapport with them, the quality of my work. I'm keeping that steady and moving forward. And my goal is to get to that at some point. Now with your smaller machine, unfortunately, you are going to have to turn some customers away because you're confined to a 4x4 hoop. So you're limited on that size. Now, if you're just doing a bunch of polo shirts for a company, that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, you can still accomplish a lot with that little machine. Right now, I can't do a full back on a jacket. Hence, that's why I want to move up to the bigger machine. But just keep focused on your goal. Keep moving forward. You do not have to have a bunch of expensive equipment to run your business. Quality supplies. Take your time. Double check yourself, especially when you're lining stuff up on the machine, when you're hooping it. Take your time. Be meticulous about your work. Build your clientele up. I'm here to tell you, you can do this business from your home. You can. 3 years in, am I paying bills? My personal bills? Am I making a salary? Not what I want. No. I could not feel that if my husband was to lose his job, that I could support us what I make. Because at this point, let's say 2.5 years in, I'm still growing. So I get money ahead. Of course, always keep money for operating capital. Always keep something, at least 30% in your account for operating capital. But aside from that, I'm buying supplies, putting that back in the business. I'm buying another piece of equipment, putting it back into the business. So pretty much at least 80% of your profits are going back into the business at this point. So don't expect to make a killing your first 1, 2, 3 years in. Don't expect to be able to, if you have a full-time job and you want to quit and solely live off what you make, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. If it wasn't for my husband, it wouldn't be possible. So don't expect to feed yourself or pay your bills or your mortgage with what you make in the first couple of years. It's not going to happen unless, you're different from 95% of the other people in the world, and you just hit a windfall. But most of the time, it's not going to happen. And I'm not saying that to discourage you. I just don't want anybody to watch this video and decide I'm going to turn my embroidery business into a full-time job and I'm going to quit my job. Don't do that. Don't. Now, we'll tell you, it's not going to be, I'm sorry, phone popped off my tripod here. Now, right now, it is the busy season. As of yesterday, I'm caught up. Christmas, holidays are going to be busy, especially Thanksgiving through New Year's is a hectic time. This board was covered up, but I've got it all down. I've got one order left. Hobbyists are going to interfere with your holiday season profits, because there are men and women who will only do this for the holidays. And I am not telling anybody to not make a little extra money to help out with Christmas or bills. But they price gouge. They don't know how much to charge for their work, for the materials. So they're way underpricing. So when people are shopping around looking for services like mine or yours, of course, they're going to go to the most affordable person. And I cannot hate them for that. But chances are, this time next year, that person's not going to be around. After the first of the year, that person's not going to be around anymore. So they can't guarantee their work, and they can't duplicate their work. So they're going to come to a person like me and expect to pay the prices that they paid the hobbyist that was doing it. And I cannot compete with that. I deeply apologize to them that they've been, that person accommodated them and gave them such a wonderful price. But the point of the story is it's not feasible. They didn't know how much to charge for what they were doing. Whereas I'm very meticulous about my prices. I want to make stuff affordable to people, but I also have to keep in mind, I can't do this for free. So that's where, and nothing against a hobbyist. I'm not throwing any shade at hobbyists. But price your work accordingly. And just keep in mind, us as a business doing embroidery or heat transfer vinyl or screen print, we're here all year long trying to make a living. So keep your prices competitive. Know how much time you've put into that job, materials, garments, what have you, and back your work. What else was going to tell you? Do you have to have a lot of money to start this up? No, you don't. You don't. The money that I had made working at the boutique, I took that money and put it into starting up my business, buying equipment. I had my small tabletop embroidery machine, or my combo machine over here. I bought a Cameo. I bought a heat press. I think I stocked up on threads, stabilizers, HTV, adhesive vinyl, stuff like that. That's another thing. Embroidery is not going to keep you busy throughout the year. So I recommend offer a plethora of services. It's what I do. I do hand-painted decor. I do
hand sewn decor, in addition to designing t-shirts for people, screen printed transfers, decals. I letter vans, store windows, small monogram decals for vehicles. I have people bring stuff into me that they want embroidered. I have people bring me shirts that they want to have HTV put on. I sell heat transfer vinyl. Have a backup. Don't try to overwhelm yourself. Don't have so many items and services that you can't keep up with them. But I wouldn't just solely do embroidery. Now, I say that because a lot of people cannot afford embroidery. Embroidery is not cheap. Embroidery has always been a classic look. And a lot of people don't like vinyl. Because I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10, if I have somebody that comes to me that wants their initials monogrammed on something, I offer them both embroidery and vinyl. 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick embroidery because some people think, well, I say some, a lot of people think vinyl looks cheap. But have those options to where you're not solely dependent on just embroidery work coming in. You have other things going on that you can still make money off of. Find wholesalers that you can deal with, especially for your garments. I recommend have a wholesale garment dealer. Most of them, you have to have a business license. There are some out there that don't require you to have a business license. But I'm telling you, it's worth the money to go ahead, get your DBA, get your business license, get your tax ID number, make sure you're legitimately in place. Check your local laws about running a business from your home. You can usually check with your zoning or code enforcement office, and they'll tell you whether or not you can do that. I think at my home, I can have a sign out front, but it has to be 10 foot from the right of way or the street. And I cannot have more than 8 customers here at one time, which that's a rarity. Usually they drop and go. And they all have been told, be courteous, parking my driveway. Do not park in the neighbor's driveway. Do not block their driveways. Do not park in their yards. I do have set business hours. Don't come after those hours. Be respectful to my neighbors, because I don't want to get to the point where my neighbors are upset because I've got traffic coming in and out and it's interrupting their lives to the point where they're calling the city and telling them, I want this lady shut down. Don't piss your neighbors off. Don't let your customers piss your neighbors off. Just as an example, I had a lady not too long ago, new customer. So she at that point hadn't been informed yet, but anybody with a bit of common courtesy would not have done this. My neighbor across the street works very hard to take care of her yard. She is a single woman. She takes care of her yard all by herself after driving a truck all week long. She works very hard in her yard. My customer parked in her yard. Our street is really not wide enough for street parking. We all have long driveways. So you do not have to park in the street. And plus the traffic up and down our street, because we are on the main street, is very busy and they're very fast. So I went out and greeted my customer and I said, if you wouldn't mind, can you just pull in my driveway? I said, not only for your safety, but my neighbor, works very hard on her yard. Well, this customer in particular, of course, started throwing easement laws out at me. Yes, ma'am, I know where the easements are. I know. But just as a courtesy to my neighbor, because she does have to maintain that easement, the county doesn't maintain that. If you wouldn't mind not parking in her yard, because you all know when you park a vehicle on grass that has been hot, it's going to burn the grass underneath. It's going to discolor it. But I'm getting off on a tangent here. This customer got really upset. She thought, that it was okay just to park anywhere. And see, that could have been another situation where my neighbor could have gotten easily upset with me and, asked me to either shut my business down or, had a complaint, and then we'd been on bad terms. No, I want to avoid all that. So if you're running your business from your home, just make sure your customers respect your neighbors, respect your personal space, respect your home. Just, make sure they adhere to that. And you don't have to be hateful when you tell them that, my business hours are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 to noon on Saturday, closed on Sundays. I've had customers in the past, oh, can I drop by about 8, 9 o'clock? No, you can't. I'm sorry. But after 7, that is my personal time, whether it be just to sit here on my butt and watch TV or go somewhere and spend time with my family. Especially during this busy time of the year, I have to have that time to get my mind back straight, to get to the point where I've been sitting there watching that machine all day long and I'm literally doing this. I've got to take time to get myself back straight, to get my paperwork in order, to make sure I haven't omitted any orders. I mean, if you continuously let your customers abuse your business hours and your personal space, you're going to find yourself to the point you're worn down. You're worthless to anyone because you can't think straight. You're unorganized. Orders are getting behind. Take that personal time for yourself. If you want to sit there while you're watching TV and answer messages that people have left you on Facebook, fine. Or you can do like I do. When I remember to turn it on, I have an instant reply on my Facebook Messenger that lets you know, I'm sorry you've, reached us after business hours, but if you leave us, a message, we'll, get back with you during regular business hours. And most people understand that. I usually turn it on Sundays because a lot of people are at home and they're surfing around on their phone and see my ads come up or my page, and then they want to chat. Sunday's my day. Sunday is Lord's Day. So just, you have to set boundaries, whether it be the person physically, whether the person be here at your home or whether you're talking to them on Facebook or whether you're talking to them on the phone. Now, just because you're running your own business now doesn't mean you can cuss everybody out that, ticks you off. You still have to be respectful, because if not, word of mouth goes a long way. And people are, if you're nasty to some person, maybe they rubbed you the wrong way and kind of set you off, just still, even if you're on the phone, smile, be apologetic, even though you probably haven't done anything wrong, and just stay calm. Because you never know who that person's going to know. You never know what they're going to go on Facebook and tell. And in this day and age of social media, everybody is a keyboard ninja. That person could have been as nice as they possibly could to your face, but you never know when they're going to get on Facebook. Maybe you said something possibly out of the way to them and they've gotten butthurt over it, and they're going to take to Facebook and they're going to go to your business page and they're going to leave a nasty review. Or they're going to get on the yard sale pages or the bulletin boards on Facebook, and then they're going to trash you. Always be kind, always be nice until it's time not to be nice. Until you see there's no other way around it than to shut this customer down. I call it firing the customer. Until you see no other way around it, be as nice as you possibly can, as kind as you possibly can. Trying to think if I missed anything else. I think not. I think I've taken up all your time that I need to today. If you have any questions about the machines, equipment, computers, supplies, where to get them, how much they cost, anything, if you'll leave a comment down below, I'll be sure to answer your message as soon as I possibly can. If you want to see any other videos, I'm fairly new to doing these. I don't do them as regular as I should. I haven't been able to here the past couple months. Praise the Lord, I've been somewhat busy, so I've been trying to focus on my business. But if there's any other video that I can sit down and talk to you about, just let me know. I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. And when you do click that subscribe button, there's going to be a little bell that pops up to the side. make sure you click on that, and that's going to notify you every time I post a new video or go live. If you have any question about a potential order that you would like to place, just let me know. Anything that I can help you all with, please leave me a comment or send me a message. I would love to speak with you. I hope I haven't been too long-winded. I hope this video has been informative. I wish you all the best of luck in starting your new business. I hope you're wonderful and great success and very profitable. I'd love to hear your feedback. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I hope you all are warm and dry wherever you may be. And if I do not speak to you before, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you may celebrate, and a blessed New Year. Until then, this is Amanda. We'll talk to you later. Bye.